Hello and welcome to the channel, Babbacombe Spins. So a thread video for our good friend up in the Highlands of Scotland, Jack at the Vinyl Voyager, who's asked us to do a little kind of response video around genres of music. So Jack's got a great channel. He's all up to all kinds of interesting things, including like a vinyl community quiz that's going on. So there'll be some filming of that being done shortly, so watch this space. You'll get to see me being quizzed on my musical knowledge and probably failing miserably, but hey ho. So genres. So Jack said just show 7 kind of records that represent different genres, and then try and show something that's unclassifiable at the end. So that's what I'm going to do. So I've tried to do it a little bit of a journey through my kind of musical purchasing and buying and interest. So I thought I'd start with some pop, because as a young man that's what I first listened to, and then I'd move through some other stuff. So I have got notes here, so you see me kind of looking over there, so I'll make sure I'll show the right record of the right genre, otherwise I get very confused. It's incredibly hot in the UK today. It's about 30 degrees. So I've come home from work, I've had a shower to try and wake myself up to do this video, so hopefully I won't waffle on too much. Right, first one, so pop. So when I was a kid, pop music was good. I'm not entirely sure what is pop music anymore, because I haven't listened to anything contemporary for at least 15 years, because if I put Radio 1 on, it doesn't last long, and there is no chart shows or anything like that. The charts don't mean anything, so, you know, I don't know what classes as pop music now. But all I do know is I would put this up against anyone around at the moment. It's the wonderful Adam and the Ants. And when I was a kid, when this came out, our school playground was basically divided into ant people and not ant people. So I was an ant person. I'm not ashamed to admit it, despite my parents occasionally still ribbing me about my love of Adamant. This was massive. And if you listen to this album now, it still sounds phenomenal. It's absolutely brilliant. The singles, obviously Dog Eat Dog, Kings of the Wild Frontier, the title track is just... what a song that is. That African kind of drumming, and then Ant Music. It's the 3 singles off this are brilliant, but the whole album is really good. I think the other movement when I was around this time was two-tone, I think. So that team, so our playground was Ant People and two-tone. So the two-tone has always been cool. Adam and the Ant was briefly very cool, and then you know, he wasn't. But I still hold this up. And actually the one before this, which is Dirt Wears White Socks, is also well worth getting out. So for some reason I've got 2 copies of this, and this is a UK original. It has got a teeny bit of sleeve damage. It wasn't particularly expensive, but this comes with a little catalogue. Now if you are fans of the band Elastica, you might recognise how that was done, because when they released their debut album they put a little catalogue in as well as a little homage to Adamant. So if it's good enough for Elastica, it's good enough for me. So that's a UK version. This is an American version. And in terms of track listing, this has 12 songs, this has 13. And side 1 of this adds something called Press Darling, so you get an extra track. But side 2 removes removes Making History and adds You're So Physical. So yeah, so I'll show you the back. So Adamant fans, if you wondered what was the difference between the UK, there's the UK track listing, hopefully you'll read that, and there's the US track listing, and I think I found both of these for like a £5, so I didn't realise one was an American until I got it home. So but a brilliant album. I will defend Adam and the Ants' second album and the first album to anyone. I almost the weekend picked up a copy of Prince Charming, which was a Japanese import, but it was missing the OB. It was quite reasonably priced. This was up in Leeds, but it was missing the OB. So oh no, I'm waiting. I'm still for some reason finding it quite difficult to get a reasonably priced copy of the follow-up. But great album. But Adam and the Ants, when I was that age, you know, would have been 11, 12, fashion changed quickly, and very quickly. Adam and the Ant went from being up here to nobody would admit to liking poor old Adam Ant. And I had a mate who's had an older brother that was a big rock fan, and I gravitated more to kind of metal new wave of British heavy metal stuff, that kind of thing. So one of my earliest loves, and I'm showing this because I'm going to see them in a couple of days' time, which will probably be the last time I will. Since the 50th anniversary. But in 1983, this album I played to absolute death. The Wonderful Peace of Mind by Iron Maiden, that wicked cover. And I'm still buying Iron Maiden Funko Pops and stuff like that now. I'm seeing them Saturday, can't wait. And it'll probably be it's a greatest hit show, effectively. It's all the 80s and early 90s stuff, so cannot wait. But I listen to stuff like this all the time. So the genre for this, so we've gone from pop, this I would call, I think it is definitely heavy metal, isn't it? Yeah, new wave of British heavy metal. So heavy metal, that's what I was listening to, introduced by my mate and his older brother. And they also introduced me to what I would call classic rock or hard rock, blues rock, I don't know what you call that, but folk rock at times. But I listened as well. I did go back and listen to bands like Sabbath, Purple, and of course Led Zeppelin. So I've shown this one. I've got to pick anyone because it's a beautiful record, obviously. We all know this one, don't we? But this is one of the few Plum Zeppelin albums that I own, and that was donated to me by my next door neighbour. This was a late husband's copy, so I did give her some money for it, so don't panic out there. But yeah, so in amongst some records she gave me, this was nestled at the back, so I was well happy with that. So brilliant album, whole lot of love and all that type of stuff. Can't go on with that. So I've gone pop, I've gone heavy metal, I've gone hard rock. But then somewhere along the time, I think when things like hair metal came in and all Europe and who was those ones that did Poison, all that type of stuff. So when all that came in, I kind of abandoned rock with a vengeance, and I'd started to listen to bands like the Smiths, though that kind of Echo and the Bunnymen, U2, Simple Minds. But one of the newer bands that I fell in love with from the She Sells Sanctuary single onwards was the Cult, and I very quickly went out and bought their first album. So that's this one, Dreamtime. This is a nice original on Beggars Banquet, and what a great album this is. So I saw them on the Love Tour. I've seen them a few times over the years, but a great band, and it's rock, but it's starting to have obviously this album's got a bit of a goth feel, but it's starting to change. So it wasn't quite straight rock, it's a bit alternative, I suppose that would be what it was. Yeah, so I'm classing this as like alternative kind of stuff. And then of course there was indie, so I started reading the NME and checking out the indie charts and all that. And one of my absolute favourites of the late 80s, they came through really when the Smiths had gone, and you thought they were going to be massive, and they never quite did it. The singles always got to like number 42 or something like that. I think moving from Creation Records to a major didn't work for them, but the wonderful House of Love with their, technically, I think it's the debut, but they did a German kind of a mini album something before that, but this is the debut on Creation. All the albums were called The House of Love, which doesn't help. You got the four members of the band there, but this is such a good album. That's the track list in there, and a lovely Creation original from back in the day. There you go, on Creation, on that lovely black label. But you know, the songs on this, obviously Christine, Man to a Child, Love in a Car, Touch Me, which closes it, Sulphur, great song that is. But I think the guitarist left, didn't he? Terry Bickers, was it? And they never quite recovered. But great band. Did some great stuff in the early 90s. Added a bit of a more, not dance is the wrong word, but they modernised the rhythm and stuff like that. But never quite worked for them. But the House of Love, mighty band. And then we had things like Manchester, didn't we? We had, what else did we have that came around about that time? Grunge. But probably the Britpop stuff is where my next few years of buying music came in. And there's one band that they were there right at the start, but they never really achieved the success of their contemporaries. And then they kind of went off and did their own things, and there'll be more of their front man later. But the Mighty Auteurs, and I always show this because it's like the forgotten album of that era. So it's from 1993, Mercury Prize nominated. If you haven't got this album or heard this album, please check it out, because I think from the opening track Showgirl to the closing track Home Again, I think this is one of the best albums of the 90s, and I would listen to this over and over and over again. It's in the CD area. This is a reissue on, I think, loop, but you should be able to track this stuff down. But they only did 4 albums, the Auteurs. All of them are good. The first album, I think, is exceptional, which is this one. The third album was produced by Steve Albini, and that's really good, After Murdy Park. But the last album is also fabulous, so I recommend all of them. But yeah, the Auteurs. So that would be my kind of Britpop pick, slightly more obscure. Didn't get the sales that obviously that happened once Blue and Oasis and Pulp kind of blew up, and of course Suede. And then really from there, I've probably been buying that kind of mixture of records, dabbled in a little bit of jazz recently. But one of the final kind of bits of music that I started listening to that I'd up until then totally ignored was folk. And I kind of started thinking, I think it started with listening to things like Nick Drake, maybe Sandy Denny. And from there, I gravitated to Fairport Convention. And this album is absolutely insane. Richard Thompson, I think, has gone by the time this comes along. But this is, the short title is Babbacombe Lee. The long title, which is on the spine, I don't know whether you'll ever be able to read it. It basically has one of the longest titles known to man. I think the only way I can really do this justice is to show you the record. So if you look at that, you see all that big long writing there. That, I think, is actually the title of the album. It's got one of the hugest long titles of all time. Brilliant kind of mad record. It's about the true tale of Babbacombe Lee, or John Babbacombe Lee, who they try and hang, and every time they try and hang him, it doesn't work. And there's a rule that if they try and hang you 3 times and you kind of survive, that you're allowed to go free. And that's what this is around. So if you look at the track listing on that there, this is a lovely copy actually. So you got the side 1, side 2, but that's basically the track listing. It's all big one long story. You got a little newspaper kind of thingy there, bit of a picture of the band, and then an explanation as to what the album's all about on the back. But I did see a video once by one person on the VC said they hate folk music and it's never for them. And I probably, my idea of folk music for many years was, those woolen Aran jumpers and pipes and slippers and Morris dancers and stuff like that. But this is flipping brilliant. It's bonkers, but I love this album, and I absolutely, obviously, then if you like this, you then go back to the Richard Thompson stuff like that. So fabulous album. So really, the folk was one of the last things I started to explore. People like John Martin, Sandy Denny, Nick Drake, that kind of stuff. So that's that. And then the last thing Jack asked us to do was show something that's unclassifiable, i.e. some music that's just nigh on impossible to pin down. And I've actually chosen to show a load of albums by the frontman of the Auteurs, Luke Haynes, who did the Auteurs. He did Black Box Recorder, that had a hit single with The Facts of Life, and their first album is well worth getting out as well. England Made Me, fabulous album. Bader Meinhof, and then he's also done loads of solo albums. So I've just picked a bunch of CDs here because I've kind of kept up with him on CD because they're bloody bonkers. His albums are just all over the shop. So here you go. Here's the first one. 9.5 psychedelic meditations on British wrestling of the 70s and early 80s. We get Rock and Roll Animals, which is basically a kind of concept album of animals being rock stars. Here's a track. Gene Vincent, Rock and Roll Mums and Rock and Roll Dads. There you go. It's bonkers. What's this one? New York in the 70s. Alan Vega says Lou Reed. Bill's Bunker Dolls Forever. So it's just bananas. Here we go. Told you to get some matter. Adventures in Dementia and Caravans. British Nuclear Bunkers. That's like a concept album about being caught up in an underground bunker. Here we go. Told you to get Smash the System. So we got, Morris dancers there giving it one. Mark Bolan Blues. Bruce Lee, Roman Polanski and me. Bomber Jacket. We all had one of them, didn't we? This one's bananas. Luke Haynes has trademarked the frequency 43 hertz. So that effectively is some song titles there, but they're all at the kind of frequency that you can't hear. So it goes exclusive to Electronic Sounds. This is a meta concept album about Luke Haynes trademarking and subsequently owning the frequency 43 Hz. Since Luke Haynes owns the frequency, all music has now become subject to his approval. Yeah, that was free with a magazine, that was. What's this one? I Sometimes Dream of Glue. Opening track, Angry Man on a Small Train. He's then started doing some work with Peter Buck of REM, so beat poetry for survivalists. Here you go. Setting the Dogs on the Post-Punk Postman. There's the Ace Cafe, some of you might know that. And if you ever buy anything signed by him, if you look very closely, there's a squiggle there. His signature is the laziest signature known to man. I've got quite a few things signed by Luke Haynes, and you can hardly see it. He really is a lazy kind of signature. And this is not quite the latest. I think this is All the Kids Are Super Bummed Out. This is the second one with Peter Buck, and I think there is a third one on the way, but totally uncategorisable. It's some kind of genius. He does a little column for Record Collector as well, which occasionally, which is very, very funny. He's done a couple of books which are great. So well worth checking out. So I think he's done 3 books actually. Well worth checking out if you get a chance. But thank you for Jack for setting that challenge. Hopefully I've risen to the occasion, and you know, hopefully there's some interesting records there for you to watch. So thanks for watching. Go Axeman Spins. I'll hopefully see you on the next one.